All right, good morning, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and get started here. Everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 7:37 with roll call.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Klink? Yes. Mr. Kyle Miller?
Here.
Mr. Mullet?
Yeah.
Mr. Steve Miller?
Here. Okay, first order of business is for an election of a new president for 2021. So since everybody's scrambling for it, I would be open to, I think, nominations for president.
Nominate Julia.
Okay, we have a nomination.
You want a second or not?
Yeah. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know if you could hear that, Kyle, but Julia was nominated, so we don't need a second, so go ahead with roll call.
All right. Mr. Mullet?
Yes.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Klink? Mr. Kyle Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Steve Miller?
Yes. And we need to elect a vice president for 2021 also.
I nominate Kyle Miller.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion? Go ahead with roll call.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Steve Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Mullet?
Yes.
Mrs. Klink?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Tax budget hearing. So the tax budget hearing is required by law. We have to do it every year and get it submitted to the county auditor by January 20th. What this is looking at is just estimates for revenue, and it's quantifying what we need the county auditor to collect in the upcoming fiscal year. So these numbers are looking at fiscal year 22. This budget hearing is open to the public, but we did not receive any notice from anyone that they would be joining or hopping in. So at this point, I would just open it up to you if you had any questions. This is mostly driven by the forecast that was completed in November, but it does look at all funds. And again, it's just to provide that justification to the county auditor to collect taxes for us for fiscal year 22. If you have no questions, we will be putting this up for approval in the regular meeting once we get through our organizational meeting.
No questions? All right. So Eric, new business.
All right.
Consent agenda.
On the new business consent agenda there, 1 through 13 are all our routine annual items that we do during the organizational meeting. Just one correction on number 10, B and C. Currently, Title IX compliance is under John Wilson. That should be bumped up to under Carrie Calzo there on letter B there. So we'll make adjustment on the.
Maybe we all should look for a text from Eric.
My screen said Darren's now the host, so we're waiting for you, Darren.
Come on, Darren.
I'm always the host. I didn't do anything.
It's that virus in your computer that keeps talking for you.
Oh my.
Well, we have the vice president, so we can continue forward, I suppose.
Ay, ay, ay.
See,
Eric
maybe
just-
you-
He
okay.
said technical difficulty. Just hang tight. He'll be right back. So I'm going to go do morning announcements here. So
All right, everybody, sorry about that.
Everybody hear us?
The computer honestly went into an automatic update mode, so I apologize for the technical difficulty here this morning. So we have closed the organizational meeting, or no, we haven't yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
resolution.
All right, so we're at the resolution to adjourn to the regular meeting.
Just made a motion. We go into regular meeting.
I'll make a motion. to close the organizational meeting.
I'll second.
Amanda?
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mullet.
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Flink.
Yes. Okay. So we will call the regular board meeting to order at 7:47. And now you want to do, we have to roll call again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Gertz.
Here.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Here.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Here.
Mr. Mullet,
Here.
Mrs. Flink.
Here. As always, we operate under consent agenda. There's no guests. So we can just move to approval of minutes. Just need a motion to approve minutes from December.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Amanda?
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mullet,
Yes.
Mrs. Flink.
Yes. And then just move to and approve a motion to approve the agenda. Assuming there's no corrections or
No,
additions.
yeah, no corrections today.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mullet,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Klink.
Eric, you want superintendent's report?
All right, to the superintendent's report here. First, we'll recognize our Highland WKLN Students of the Week. First off there is Kendrick Wilson, son of John Wilson, who's with us here today as well. As usual, Jade Mast, Colin Lau, and Ashley Hirschberger. So congratulations to those students. On number 2 there it is, School Board Recognition Month, and just in a very public way, want to recognize you all, the 5 of you. You know, being on the school board is not generally something people are beating the doors down to do, but it's a very important job in our community, and especially just make note of the last 10 months of pandemic and coronavirus and all sorts of things, just the constant support of staff and students, during these unprecedented times, is so appreciated, and that relentless support. So I know I appreciate that, and staff and students do as well. So thank you, all of you, for what you do. And I think we'll move to building and supervisor reports. So I'll just go ahead and call you out on the screen as we go around here, right? So first I see up there is Mr. Lunabord.
All right, good morning. Good to see everybody today. Just a few things taking place at the schools. First of all, it's great to be back and see all the kids after a 2-week break from Christmas. It was much needed, but it was also exciting to see the kids smiling and ready to come back to school. And I know something that Mr. Bune's kind of asking all the time when we talk to him, but looking at attendance, and our attendance, not only with our staff, but our students, has been really good and held in there. So it's kind of nice to be able to keep that string of staying in school full go. I think it's much needed, and it's the best way to go. So that's been working out real good. Some things have been going on in the building, implementing the Leader in Me structure in our buildings. We are now implementing the leadership guides, and through the Lighthouse team, and then meeting with our IPC time, talking with the staff, we have set minimums on getting those started weekly. For teachers to at least teach 1 lesson a week at the minimum, to get into those, get a structure together, kind of get an understanding. So as we get into a full school year, hopefully next year, the teachers will be able to kick off and understand how to work through those programs and those processes. So that seems to be going well. Been in and have been able to observe a couple of teachers working through those lessons. It's kind of nice at Chestnut Ridge, we will be able to use the gym again this year for the classic and the country practices. I know that's been a thing that's been done yearly, but it's always nice to hear from Dave and hear that that is still going on this year, and we can open up our building to the schools for practices before their games. And then just one last note, just got some air assessment scores yesterday. Those came out real well. Even though the state has kind of said, hey, the 3rd grade guarantee is not going to be in effect this year, we still want to meet those guidelines as a school and as a district. And after taking the fall assessment, which is actually a end of 3rd grade test at the beginning of the year to see where our kids are, at Chestnut Ridge, we only have 3 students of 33 left that need to meet that guideline, and at Mount Hope, I only have 1 student. So the teachers are doing a great job with our kids, even though we missed the last quarter last fall. They're working hard and getting those kids in the room, and learning's taking place. So everything's going really well. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lunabord. Mr. Blocklinger.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Just some things like JT said, it's great to be back. I don't want to jinx anything, but staff and students and attendance is great, and the excitement is back. And so it is great to be back. January and February are great months for teaching and learning. And so we've revisited the 7 habits, created new goals for the 3rd quarter, and then are tracking progress in classrooms, in binders, and throughout the building with student help. And then as I just said, as part of, more of a student lighthouse initiative, students are more in charge of updating school goals classroom goals. So what we think about that is jobs that students could do safely in this environment. Why not let them? And so I started working with kids to be able to do some of that stuff yesterday, and they pick it up, technology and things like that, a lot faster than we do. So it's going really well. So yes, it is great to be back, and it's good to see all of you. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Sprang.
All right, good morning, everybody. Yeah, as Darren and JT said, attendance has been good at Highland, and it's been great to see kids back in the building. Definitely feel a sense of energy now that we're back in the routine of school, and things are happening in the classroom. So it's good to see both staff and students. Over the holidays, we had the First Federal Holiday Showcase basketball tournament. So just would like to recognize First Federal and their ongoing support of that event. It's a nice little event to have over the holidays here at the school. Coming up this weekend is the Classic in the Country, and we are very excited to continue that tradition, continue to offer that opportunity to not only our kids but to other kids across the state and the country. We're looking forward to hosting both the teams and some spectators. So looking forward to all of that happens, and thank you to everyone who volunteers to make that such a great event. Finally, here at the end of January, we have our annual musical that was postponed from the fall due to the coronavirus. It'll be the last week in January, and it has the theme of a musical cabaret, Songs of Joy and Hope. So we are looking forward to seeing our students showcase their talents and appreciate all the support that Mr. Looney and Mrs. Clay and their hard work to make this come together. That's it from Highland.
Thank you. Ms. Calzo.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So in the special education department, we continue working as a district with a regional group to bring more awareness to transition for students 14 years and older. And initially that group started with myself, a couple of our staff members, and the Holmes County Board of DD and one SSA. And that has now reached out, and we have some members from Ohio Department of Education, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, and several other community programs. So that is going very well, and we will continue to put more information out there for parents and families. And hopefully, as this virus continues to be monitored, we'll be able to get back in the community and work on some job finding opportunities. Also, the special education staff has the opportunity to assess students using what's called the alternate assessment in the spring. And the state has done a lot of work the past couple of years with looking at how do we determine students that take alternate assessments and what kind of guidelines do we follow. They've come out with very new guidelines and new training, which is effective as of December 14th, 2020. So just in the past month. But we've had a very nice supportive group of intervention specialists in our district get certified to be able to provide that assessment to our students and support our kiddos as they, continue to work on their goals for graduation. So I appreciate our staff for doing that. And then we did place an order for devices to come through a grant that was set aside for special education technology. And hopefully here in the next month, we should see those devices come into the district. Those will be able to be used for testing, but they'll also be able to be used for communication devices for students that might be nonverbal and need an opportunity to use applications that help them communicate with their teachers and their peers. So those are a few of the things that are going on in special education right now.
Thank you. Mr. Haven.
Good morning, everyone. A couple things from Walnut Creek and Weinsberg. Number one, we did, just like the other buildings talked about, we did receive our fall language arts scores December 29th, they came through. And we are not where we want to be, but I'm telling you, after having the gap that we had last spring, and then we were in person in the fall, and that makes such a big difference. We are at a place right now where it's good to have the baseline data along with the iReady scores. And yeah, it's good to move forward and knowing that we have our kids here every day. So, part of it is we're not where we are at, but we were very thankful that we were in face-to-face, and we are looking forward to our spring test. I definitely see a lot of growth going on there. Number two is I want to give a shout out to our teacher support staff. Back in November, we went through a rough patch where there are not subs available to come in and sub, and title teachers, intervention specialists, intervention tutors help fill in the gaps many times when we had 2 or 3 classroom teachers out and no subs available. So very appreciative of them who stepped in and helped out and filled those gaps. And then thirdly, we are also doing Stephen Covey's Leader in Me. We are on the 3rd habit right now this month, put first things first. And what we're going to do is we're going to cycle back through those personal victory habits again through the remainder of the year. And then before we move on to the other aspects of the 7 habits. So we're taking that right now, and we're the first 3 months, we're basically just learning the word, and now we're going to cycle back through and put it to deed now. And how do we apply those things to our day? So there's 3 things from Walnut Creek and Winesburg.
Thank you. And Mr. Wilson.
Good morning. A few things going on here in our department as well. First grade literacy days will be coming up here in February. So we're working to make those digital just to minimize contact and so forth. Also taking a look at a virtual PD model for staff. In the exploration stage of this, these would be modules that staff could pick from that would be offered on demand so that it fits everyone's schedules a little better. The first step for securing our federal funds for fiscal year 22 is underway, and that begins with the One Needs assessment. That's a core battery of questions that range everywhere from building specific to district specific. And I'll let Mr. Bune at some point kind of catch you up on this, but there are a few questions this year that are actually Board of Education required. So there'll be a few prompts that we'll need some guidance on from you, just to give you a heads up on that. Kindergarten registration planning is underway for that to occur here in May. Gifted, we continue to update the listing of students across the district based on the December administration of the iReady diagnostics. And then lastly, it's been brought up a couple times here, but the 3rd grade results from a district perspective, we have a slightly higher non-passage rate this year, which is completely to be expected. I do see staff doing a lot of great things to get traction with the students there. We plan on continuing to administer the Terra Nova, although it's not necessarily required. It does give us and the staff an additional data point so that we can continue to monitor students' progress to get them back on track. And I think that's it from our department. Thanks.
All right, thank you, everybody. Great to hear everybody check in here after being away here for a month. And that's it.
Okay. And for treasurer's report.
All right, just a couple items for your approval today. Our 2 then and nows, POs were in place, amounts came in different than they have in the past. And there wasn't enough money on those POs, so it's easier to close them out and just put in a new one. So that's why we're seeing those. Number 3 then is asking for your approval of that tax budget that we talked about. And then number 4, we just like to recognize a couple donations that we received. An anonymous donor put in or donated some LED light bulbs for district use, which we're very thankful for. That's obviously going to help with some of our utility bills. And then just Berlin Township, with some of their COVID relief money, has been able to share some of those supplies with us and partnered with us to do a couple of things in the buildings that we're really thankful for. So with that, I would ask for your approval of items 1 through 4.
Any questions? If not, just need a motion for approval, please.
I'll move to approve treasury report 1 through 4. I'll second.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mullet.
Yes.
Mrs. Klink.
Yes. New business.
On new business there, would ask that you take 1 through 3. Number 2 there is just our annual CCP agreement. It's kind of that time of year where the colleges and universities where our students attend CCP are sending those agreements out for the next following year. And then number 3 is just approval of a sub-grant agreement with Berlin Township for using some of their COVID relief fund dollars to purchase some technology equipment and air filtration systems.
Any questions or discussion?
On Kent State's under normal circumstances, where is that? Where do our kids have to physically go for that?
Kent State Tusk.
They have to go.
Yeah. There would be some options for some of the courses to be online as well, even in normal times.
How long have we been with Kent now? A couple years.
It's been a while. Often, some of our students who live on the eastern edge of the district, it's just as close for them to attend down at Kent State Tusk as it would be for them to go to Millersburg. And not always, but because it's down there at the branch, the course offerings can be more than what Wayne can offer down here.
Okay, just need a motion for approval of 1 through 3.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Okay,
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Mullet.
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Klink.
yes. Personnel item.
All right, for personnel items there, would ask that you take 1 and 2. Just one move there by Deidre Wine to masters, and then resignation of Mike Malicki as track coach.
Any questions or discussion? If not, just need a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Mullet.
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Klink.
Yes.
The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education go into executive session for any of the following matters: to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mullet.
Yes.
Mr. Gertz.
Yes.
Mr. Steve Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Klink.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great Tuesday.
Thank you.